Oh, hello. Today I'm going to be looking at the question, are too many children labelled SEN? I want to talk about the different labelling types and why they're being labelled, and also the other key issues within SEN.
Okay.
According to the DfE, statistically there are 1.6 million children on the SEN register, and still more being diagnosed. Not only are their chances in life academically slimmer, but the teachers are under so much more stress to try and support these children and assess them. I think we need to question what's being done to try and solve this, and are there any children that are insufficiently labelled on the register? In 2014, the DfE are bringing a new code of practice to replace other systems, such as Action Plus. They feel that too many children are inappropriately labelled as SEN, and they want to try and reduce this. By doing this, it means children that truly need the help will get all the support and funding, which will really be positive in my view. However, there's still that negativity that many teachers will label children SEN because of their poor teaching skills. This has to change. Local councils realise that too many children are being labelled SEN, so they want to bring in a new system called the Pathfinder to try and change this. It will be a new funding scheme where parents can then apply for their child to get what money they need. This will mean that the children who really need it will get extra support and all the care they need, which will be fantastic. However, children with less severe SEN may not get the support they need and may get left out, which is really bad. And what about the parents who may not be able to speak English? How will they know what's best for their children? I think this new system could create chaos. Special Education Needs Disability Review wants extra support for SEN children and for them to be closely tracked. I feel this is a good idea. However, I think these teachers need to be teaching SEN children to work as individuals rather than have the support. I can imagine someone doing a presentation on SEN adults and they'd be saying that these adults still need support because they weren't taught to be individual learners as children. I think that's the key, to release the stress and to reduce the amount of SEN labels. These children need to work as individuals so they don't need support.
Okay.
Many SEN children can feel uncomfortable and isolated if they're continually being assessed by strangers, and I think if the parents were there to support them, it would really enable the children to try harder, and I think they'd have much more success. However, sadly there are many parents that don't want to help their children and still want to be involved, and I feel that these SEN children will struggle even more in life. There might be many children who need the same support as SEN, but aren't actually on the SEN register. There was a group of children whose fathers had gone off to war, and they were on the SEN register, but researchers felt that this wasn't appropriate. Yet don't these children deserve the same? Obviously we don't want more children being labelled SEN, but what about those children who have trauma from divorces or from abusive families? I feel there needs to be more support for these children. I was deeply interested to see if the amount of premature births there were had any connection to SEN children. A recent magazine tells us there's a huge increase in the amount of children being premature and also the amount of children being labelled SEN. Could this have any connection? The Baby Centre, who care a lot about children, have recently done tests in premature birth. They say that although there's a lot more support for premature children being born, there's a lot of developmental issues for them, and that this could lead to the children being SEN. So really something needs to be done to stop this.
Okay.
Continuing with premature birth, researchers have discovered that many children with dyslexia gained it through genetics, but they've also discovered that some of these children got it through premature birth. Because they haven't had the time to develop, it means that the connections in the brain haven't connected properly, and so that way they have slow processing skills. I'm here today to speak with Miss Jones, who has dyslexia, and she'd like to talk about it. So, if that's okay, Miss Jones, I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Hello, I'm glad to be here.
So, Miss Jones, do you feel your slow processing skills are caused by dyslexia?
Yes.
And Miss Jones, may I ask, were you born prematurely?
Yes, I was born a month early.
Thank you very much, Miss Jones. A professor of biology, Karen Mendelsohn, tells us that she's created a drug that can help cure premature birth. Apparently the drug controls the hormone and labour cycles. She tested it on rats and she was able to control labour for 2 days, which into humans is up to 4 weeks. If this is true, this could have huge positive effects and have huge decrease in the amount of children becoming SEN. However, this hasn't been tested on humans yet, so it could actually have negative effects. But isn't it worth the risk for these children? Children who are born later than the rest of their class are more likely to be underdeveloped, and some of them will be on the SEN label because they haven't had time to catch up. Dr. David Odd did some research on children born in August, and he discovered if you deferred them for a year, they were able to catch up and have the same ability as the rest of their class. The DFE have now made it easier for parents to defer their children a year, which means they can have the same ability as the other children and won't be on the SEN label. The Code of Practice wants us to stop labelling of EAL children as SEN. Many schools and special schools are labelling EAL children as special needs. This should not be the case. 2 labels would be so uncomfortable and leave the child isolated. I think we need to work on enabling these children and not having them labelled disabled. I think to finish this off, we can say there are many factors that causes the rise in SEN labelling, and there are many factors that decrease it. But I think we shouldn't be labelling these children as SEN at all. They shouldn't be made to feel isolated or be statistics. We need to give these children the right support they need and help them to learn to be individual learners so they can survive in this society. And I just hope from all this information learnt, as the next generation of teachers, we can help these children do this.